Hey, it's Mike with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Wednesday. It's May 22nd. This will be our chart lesson for the day. And just a real quick reminder, I'm closing up shop after completing the video today. No chart lessons. I'm leaving town for a long Memorial Day weekend, so I'll be out of pocket. No, I won't be in the office Thursday or Friday. So no chart lessons Thursday or Friday on YouTube, and no mid-morning reports. Please hold your emails unless it's some kind of emergency or something, because I won't have a chance to probably read them or see them till I get back. Um, I'll be out of pocket where I can't actually get my email will be limited. So appreciate you doing that. I hope everybody has a great Memorial Day weekend. Enjoy the extended weekend. If you're only getting Monday off, enjoy it. I don't know if they'll do the half-day trading on Monday like they do a lot of holidays. It's possible. Um, but don't try to trade that stuff because it's generally not worth it. Um, I recommend you just take those days off. So I mean, if you need to sim trade, the problem is with sim trading is you don't get enough movement and you don't get a true sense of what's really going on. So I don't think it really helps you to sim trade those days. So really, my recommendation is to take those days off. So anyway, here we are. You can see we've still got resistance up here. It's the fourth day. We actually broke higher this morning. We opened up, traded higher. Looked like we were going to try to push higher, and this thing sold off heavily, but never fails. As soon as you get into after 2:30, most of the volume's gone. The thing rallies back like crazy. So no surprise there. Didn't surprise me one bit. Um, it's just my opinion, but I believe it's manipulated. They're not going to let this. The current administration is not going to let this market sell off. And anytime you get a scary day like that, they try to come in and buy it back. And we're going into a long holiday, so we've probably got Thursday, and then a lot of your more professional traders, your banks and stuff, they'll probably all take off Friday at lunchtime. Probably before that, they may not even trade much Friday. So it's probably going to be low volume going into the weekend, and then we got the long holiday weekend. So people are probably not going to stay. Most of you, of course, your day traders are all going to be flat, but some people may try to square up before the weekend. So we could get some wild, crazy volatility the next couple of days. So just be careful with that. I really don't know what to expect, but I just don't believe they're going to let this market sell off. I'm surprised. It must have been some heavy selling for this to really occur here. But you see, they brought all this back on very low volume. All this has been very low volume. And rallies should be high volume, not low volume. So when you get a low volume rally, you got to be wary of it. So anyway, it is what it is. It looked like we were going to sell off really hard, and they rallied it back. And we still closed down off the highs. We got, I mean, I would have said this looks like a reversal day, but now it just looks like congestion. And maybe that's what it is. Maybe we're going to have congestion here now, because that's sure what it looks like. And so we'll draw our little congestion. I usually make these pink. Don't ask me why I picked pink. It was just a color that seemed good for congestion at the time. So there it is. And it looks like we're in a tight range now. So we did relieve a good bit of the overbought today, so we could push higher again. I mean, who knows? Again, this whole rally's been on low volume. When I say low volume, I mean there's still lots of volume out there, but it's much lower than what we've been seeing on average over the past few years. Very low volume compared to what we've seen, through COVID, 2019, 20, and 21, maybe even 22. Volume was just absolutely crazy at times. So, and the volatility matched it at different points. So, probably be some mixed trading next couple of days. So, just be careful. Follow the price action. Don't buy into these highs for sure right here. and be careful selling into these lows until you get a proven trend working down. And if you get a proven trend working higher, by all means, go with it. Just don't buy into these highs. Make sure that we push through these highs first, because you'll get burned trying to trade these highs. Anybody that, I guarantee you, there's a lot of people that were trying to go long on this breakout here, and they got themselves burned on this. And it may end up going higher anyway. Just don't buy, as we teach you, don't buy breakouts. If you fade these, if you faded the top on the breakout, you could have taken advantage of all this sell-off. And obviously, if you faded the breakout at the bottom and drove it back, you could have ridden back some of that during the after hours. So trade it the way we teach it. Don't trade what you think. Don't trade using common sense, because it'll just get you in trouble. The market prices don't move by common sense. And there's a huge severe thunderstorm going on here now, so I hope I don't lose power or anything. So I'm going to get busy on this chart lesson here and go through the trades, because I really don't want to run into some kind of problem today with the power going out and me getting stuck and not getting this out. So I'm going to get to it. Let's flip over to the 2,000 tick chart, and we'll go through those trades, and we'll wrap this day up, we'll wrap this week up, and we'll get into our holiday. Okay, here's our 2,000 tick chart. You can see it looked like we were going to have another range day. We actually did go into this pink range that expanded, and you can see when we traded lower, we bounced right off that lower line until we finally pushed through that. We came back and then turned down one more time right off that high, and this led us into this really big sell-off. You got a two-tiered channel. You actually have a shorter term one within this bigger term one, and we finally got a break here, moved to a new low. It took a little while for it to. This is why you don't try to pick tops and bottoms. You got to be real careful with that. Somebody sent me their chart today, and they sent it. I got a chance to look at. I think they sent it to me a couple of days ago, but I just could get to it today. But they were asking to, take a look at their chart and see what they were doing wrong, and they were struggling somewhat. And they're trying to pick tops and bottoms for one thing, and they're trading out of congestion was the other. And that's usually what most people do wrong. If you're in congestion, you got to trade range rules. And if you're trending, you want to trade. You want to look for second entries off the key entry points. And if you stick to those rules, you'll probably do fine. But you can't try picking tops and bottoms, especially when you're not a good chart reader. And nothing against this guy in his chart reading, but he's just not there yet. He's not that skilled a chart reader yet, because if he was, he wouldn't be picking tops and bottoms, too early. So if you try to pick tops and bottoms, you're just going to get yourself in trouble. Wait till you get a confirmed trend in the other direction, and everything will be better. I meant to restart my machine because my mouse is just ridiculous. Anytime my computer does an update, my mouse goes crazy afterwards, and I have to restart my machine again. And I don't know why it does it. Don't really care, to be honest, but it just drives me insane. So really, you don't need this green one here, because this is a retest. I put it on there, but we don't even need it. I'll just take it back off and quit fiddling with it. So, but there it is. Let's zoom in here. We'll go through the trades, and we'll wrap today up. There's not a lot of them because there's not much going on in here. 7 o'clock came just as we're bottoming out here, and you got one test. You might argue there's 3 tests there, but that just looks so congested. I'm not crazy about entering there. It's an inside bar on top of that. It does have an equal low, so you could, and you could argue that it's up and down twice there. But I usually like to see at least some space in there between a test. So I didn't consider it a true triple test till here, and you see it took off then. So I like this one. Being that far away from the EMA, maybe you take that trade, but I think you're better off to wait. I mean, it is a good ways away from the EMA, And you can't argue there's 3 tests in there, but this little box right here looks really congested. And you got to be careful with that because it always snaps back, and you see it snaps back and comes back and tests it again. Now you got a true triple test there with a perfect signal bar. The problem is you may not have got in this because it gaps over and keeps going, so you probably had to use a limit order, and it's questionable how quick you are if you could get filled there or not get filled. But it runs on up, and then we're just chopping along again, and you get another triple test here, and this one's similar to this, but this is just a tighter one, so it's not going to be able to get a lot of separation in there. And the only reason I marked this is because it does confirm that trend line. If it breaks above here, it's probably going higher. I think it's risky. I would probably skip it, and you can't argue. I mean, it's definitely a triple test, so but I'm just not crazy about it. I marked it green because there's some, if you want to be a little aggressive, that's the kind you probably want to take. But you got to be really careful. And then here, there's just not enough room. You see there's nice signal bars, but it keeps turning. This one was a maybe. It is off the original key entry point. It does make a double bottom. It's definitely congested there, but I think that one, you can at least argue for that one to be green. I meant to try and decide if I was going to mark it blue or green. I forgot about it, to be honest. It's a second entry. It's 2 legs back to the EMA, back to the trend line, plus there's support all the way across there, and I'm pretty sure there's room to get out there before I call myself a... Well, it's close, so you might have had to let it break higher and drop a limit order and see if you could get filled. I still kind of like it just because of where it's at. It would have worked regardless, but anytime you don't have room to scalp out before the last closes, I mean, you see that stem there. I prefer to use the closes, but you can't argue with the stem either. It's part of the bar. So, but I generally use the closes, and it generally works out better for me when I use the closes. So, and the rest of these don't have room to scalp out. Here, we've already turned down at the midline 3 bars in a row. It does look congested. This one's tempting, but you really need to weigh on a higher low, which comes here, and it's right back into the support resistance. You need to be inside the range or enough room back to it. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say the range, but the support resistance line, which is really the support line, but when you're on this side of it, it's acting as resistance, or it can. You see how it did, it turns it back down, and it's still getting resistance there by the EMA and that temporarily before it goes higher. So you got to be careful with that. I don't like that entry. Here, no signal bar. This is a lower high, but it turns out just to be a neutral bar and not much room to the lows. And this turned out to be a nice move down, but unfortunately, you just couldn't get any part of it. And of course, this was way overdone here. You got a break and then a big overshoot and a nice reversal bar. So this thing's probably going to come back to the EMA at a minimum, and it may come all the way back and test the breakout area again, because usually it'll test it a couple of times and it'll hold before it goes lower. So it comes back, and you just don't really get a good chance to enter it here. You may take this one. I marked it green. You're trying to pick a bottom, but that's a very nice reversal bar, and we're way overdone there with 2 legs down. I didn't measure the 2 legs, but there's definitely 2 legs down, and it is just lightning like crazy outside. So I hope I don't lose power here. And you can see even by the measured move, it's well overdone. So it's probably coming back. So, and here I am talking, and this is sideways action here too. Of course, this is a trend down, but there's still support down here, and we push below it. So it's probably going to be a failed break lower, because I don't have it on here, but there's a bigger, probably should do it like this, just so people can see it. So we're not really necessarily picking a bottom, which we are, but we're also just playing the breakout of the support down here. It's being that far away from the EMA. Again, you're better off to wait on the high or low, but when you get it, it's not room to scalp out. So let me zoom back in here. And you can see there's just not room to scalp out there. And it pushes back up, and then we're just kind of chopping sideways. This one is really tempting. It's so bearish, but that's where they usually suck you in on a fake out and trap you, which they end up doing, and then run your stops, and then it goes exactly where you think it's going to go. But look at all that support across there. You just have another somewhat of a range here. So you can't trade that bar, because this is what happens to you. You might have still got your scalp there, but it isn't worth risking it. Let's just see. Yeah, you would have still got your scalp, but that's what usually happens. Usually you don't get your scalp, and it traps you out and runs your stops. Again, it's tempting to go long here. If it would have closed back up in here, maybe, and you could still argue for that to be green. But the problem is we did have a break in new high, so the odds are we're going lower. So that's the reason I'm not crazy about that. But there's definitely a hidden second entry and all there, and it's a breakout of this, another breakout of a tight range. So if you're going to trade it, you got to trade range rules, and that's trading range rules on a breakout that's probably going to fail and come back in. So the key is, do you have enough room for this high? And we clearly do. It doesn't matter. It goes all the way back up to the original high, and it gives you, this is not a very good signal bar, but there's a hidden second entry there. There's clear resistance all the way across there. You might say, okay, there's not enough room back to this low, but we've already traded down through there so many times. That low is, unless we start bouncing there a lot again, is going to be probably not material to this entry here. Now, if we turn down here and start bouncing a few times and then going back and forth, then of course you got to start respecting that support again. You see it gets a momentary hold, and then all of a sudden the bottom just falls out of it. And you get this original trend line, this shorter term one, and you get a correction here, a break, move. It doesn't quite make a new high, but that's clearly, technically it's not a second entry because the second entry broke lower here, but it's still two legs back to the trend line, and a double top and a very bearish bar in what was a big sell-off. There's a good chance you're going to get another leg down just like this one. So I like that trade. It's right off the key entry point. Quick, easy move. It comes back and you get another second entry. Now this one is kind of in no man's land. It's not even back to the EMA. It's not back to the, I mean, you don't even really know if this main trend line's here. We could, but you're still expecting a new low. This is a pretty good sell-off here. That was a strong move down. And so the odds are you're going to retest the low. So the problem is here, you could be early. So for this reason on this one, I marked it green, but it's two legs. It's a second entry. It's close to the EMA. It's not quite there yet. The key is it's 5 ticks. It's very low risk. So maybe you risk that one. Again, you're probably better off to wait and see if you get a triple test or something, which you do, but you don't get a setup there. You actually get another test, and then down we go again. So really what you have here is two legs down. You can see we came real close to getting that second. This mouse is driving me crazy. It's like when you only hold down the mouse once, but it's like it keeps clicking or something. I'm not sure why it does that. Maybe some of you know what causes that. It has something to do with the updates. Whenever my computer updates, my Windows or whatever, it's when it never fails. Every time I have to restart it. I've been meaning to restart, and I forget until I get to working, and then I don't want to stop and redo it. So you have to be real careful when you're trading. But anyway, we bounce here, we come down here. This could be an overshoot. I'm not going to try to move my line, but originally I had it here. It still seems to fit pretty nicely here, so I don't think it is an overshoot. I think I just had it wrong to begin with. But if you saw that as an overshoot, doesn't matter. You're probably going to get if it was an overshoot, you're probably going to get a break, and sure enough, it comes up here and breaks. But notice what happens. You get a double top, and then you get this little breakout pullback. Normally, I'd tell you to sit tight on this one, but it's also a lower high after a double top because there's no room to the lows here. Of course, there's plenty to down here. But this was a really strong sell-off, so we're going to retest these lows. And so I like this as a breakout pullback short. Such a nice signal bar. And you can see we close outside, pull back, and then turn down. I went back and forth about whether or not to make it green, but I liked it in real time, so I think you just about have to take that. And you can see it turns out to be a great trade. Runs down, makes a new low, tries to correct. There's another second entry here, but that's just too congested. This bar is even still inside the trend line. You get a close outside new high, but that's just too congested right there. Just skip it. Turns out that it's a great trade, but you can't risk it. Then we're stuck in this real tight one. And this one you might say, hey, that's a possibility because we do have a break and a couple of legs down, but this is a strong trend. Don't try to pick a bottom here. Wait till you get something going higher. And same thing here, too congested. And you need to wait and just make sure we're going higher first. Finally, we rally on out of there. And you get a first entry, second entry. This is a somewhat sideways, but I still think that's two legs back. It's not a great signal bar. There's not a lot of room to the highs. So I marked it green. I'm not crazy about it. Of course, now you got a break. You move to a new high. And you make I'd just call that a double top. But very bearish bar. And technically, you come up here. You make a first touch, and then you come down, then you come back, and you go back down again, then you come back. So it's a triple test and a great signal bar. I like this one, and it turns out to be a nice trade. Really, you're just expecting to test these last couple of lows here, and maybe but you may get lucky, and the trend there's a two-legged correction, so it's possible you could get another leg going that would be equal to this first one. So that's what you need to be thinking there. It doesn't end up turning out like that. It runs off. Looks like a lot of people were looking for the same thing, but then suddenly the buying comes in. And you can see after 2:30 it really picks up and it sells back off again. And then this thing just goes haywire. Of course, it does this a lot of times at 3 o'clock. Usually it's not that crazy. But that's a wild swing for that one's at 3:20:27, 3:20:38. So about 10 minutes. In about 10 minutes, this thing has a 40-point swing. And that's pretty wild for, especially as low as the volume's been lately. So I don't know what was going on, but something odd, a little different there. Maybe it was just all the selling. People were scared they didn't want to. They're buying it. Maybe this is all just day traders and they want to buy it all back here. I don't know. But that just looks odd to me. I mean, again, around 3 o'clock you do see some volatility, but it's usually not like that. So they just were not going to let it sell off. When it came back down here, they bought. I mean, that's a lot of buying to reverse that bar and close. To open here and trade all the way down and then end up closing all the way back up here. That's a lot of buying. A lot of buying. So again, the volume is thinner out here, but that still takes somebody coming in and buying. And who that is, that's the question mark. But it doesn't matter. I just think it looks fishy myself. I I just don't believe they're going to allow this market to sell off. Not before an election. So anyway, there it is. Not a whole lot of stuff going on in this tight craziness here, but once we started selling off here, we had a few trades. Pretty typical for the kind of price action we've been getting lately. It's not getting a lot of entries, but there are a lot of setups. You get we're getting some moves here and there, but there's not a lot of good setups. But anyway, it is what it is. I'm going to wrap it up. This is going to wrap up our week. I hope you had a good week. If you're trading tomorrow and Friday, I hope those go well. I don't know what to expect, to be honest. We'll see what tomorrow brings. But trade wisely. Remember what I told you. Don't use your common sense and don't trade off what you think. Let the price action show you, and don't try to pick tops and bottoms. Wait for the market to reverse, and or keep looking for with trend entries until you'd be better off to get a loss trying to trade with trend entries than to try to pick a top or bottom and get burned. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again Tuesday. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.